Hello, Don. I'm glad to see you this evening. I had to change the timing of my from my usual because I am actually having friends over for dinner tomorrow night. So it's kind of awkward to do this and that at the same time. And Sanford suggested I ask them to join, but I mean, that's really one of those things that you want to warn people about. And besides which, I can't cook and do this, at least not with the current camera setup. Um, I really would like to be able to do cooking videos again, though, so that's probably going to be a thing. I just have to rework how. And in the meantime, it will be me sitting at my desk doing this while I'm relaxed and not having to worry about also cooking dinner and entertaining people. So I'm also posting links. So I'm a little distracted. There we go. That should do it. Now I don't have to do two things at once. It's uh yeah, no, it is one of those things, and it's more that, I mean, I really appreciate everybody that does come and listen. So I hate to change things up on you. Um, and it's one of those things where if I had a choice, I would do something else, but I don't. So, I know I'm gonna mess with my microphone, so if there's strange noises, it's because, oh yay, there we go. That's probably way too close now. Um, Let me know if I need to adjust that downward. So, hey Differs, I'm sorry about your printer. I saw um I saw about the printer Differs, and hopefully you get a new one soon and it works. Becky, if I ever get you guys up here to dinner, we should do live stream and he can sing and dance. Um, Hello, Aaron. Thank you for coming. And Mom, I'm glad you found me. I just posted links so that it should make it a little easier, but eh, it's, I don't know. I mean, I kind of picked Friday as a default um, of it's the end of the week. What I didn't factor into that when I chose Friday, because it's been a while, was with the changing work schedule. Friday is, I'm not going to say it's difficult for me, but because I only work a half day on Fridays, I usually wind up spending most of my day on Friday running around like a crazy woman doing errands. Um, because I try to get my weekend stuff done on Friday and Saturday, and then trying really hard right now to take Sunday is just a complete day off, down day. Um, Quite a few weeks I will go and hang out with friends in the morning for breakfast, which is lovely, and it seems to kind of become my version of going to church, um, complete with the occasional theological discussion. Um, I joke that I joke that one of my friends is my pastor, which disconcerts him not a little because he's no longer a pastor. But I appreciate having his wisdom from time to time. And yeah, so Sunday's supposed to be my down day, rest, and then get ready to go into the week. And it seems to be working fairly well. Um, it's hard to stick to, and I find myself, and it amuses Sanford, because I find myself restless on Sunday because I'm like, okay, I've rested enough and now I need to do something, but I'm not supposed to do something, so this is hard. How do I relax? Um, yeah, that sounds weird, but um, yeah. So, uh, yes, Mom, I agree, and Don knows who I'm talking about, and yes, um, he's usually good about it, but there are the occasional moments that I've caught him just kind of hesitating for a moment before. uh, oh, I got a black and white laser printer about, oh my gosh, 10 years ago? More than that. Now, I bought it when I went back to college, so 2012, yeah, about 10 years ago. And black and white laser printer, it was $50 when I bought it. I buy off-brand toner cartridges on Amazon at about 20 bucks a pop, and they last me 6 months to a year, depending on how many novels I'm printing. And that gives you an idea, by the way, of the workload on this thing. Is not only did it get me through 4.5 years of college printing papers and all sorts of other work related, school related stuff, but it's gotten me through printing anything else that the family needed and using it to proofread novels because I find I do better proofing um, on paper rather than just proofing on the screen when I'm trying to proofread. Because with paper, I can do a couple of different things to slow my brain down. Um, yeah, I'm not sure how to react to that. Now, I don't have that reflex because I was very definitely not raised Catholic. Um, but anyhow, um, the yeah, so this is this is a Brother laser printer. I'm turning to look behind me and it's now tucked behind the treadmill, which I'll talk about shortly. Um, it's a Brother laser printer, black and white. It is a workhorse. If you are looking to replace a printer or get a new one, I highly recommend these guys. We have moved this thing I don't know how many times, and it is still chugging along. And I throw a new toner in it every now and then, and that's it. I mean, um, it has just been not a problem at all. I think the only problem we've ever had was when the toner was running low. It'll sometimes have some weirdness in the print, and that tells me that it's time to either shake the toner cartridge or replace it. And I mean, I have the big Canon, which is a wide format that'll do 13 by 19 prints, but it is inkjet. It's a Gisley printer. It's finicky. I have to be careful to run it periodically because otherwise the print heads will dry out and clog up. And yeah, so it's definitely, I mean, it's made the move with us now 3 times. I think I've moved that thing. Um, yeah, kids in the pool with lightning around is not a good idea. I know sometimes it's hard to get them out of the pool, but really it's better. Um, Right. I've not had any issues with the off-brand and the Brother. I think I occasionally have issues with the Canon. I have a Canon Pixma, and it will fuss at me for not having on-brand printer cartridges, toner cartridges, but it has like six, and I'm not buying on-brand ink for that thing. And yeah, it runs just fine. It'll just occasionally pop up with an error message. So, um, yeah, I have a separate flatbed scanner. I mean, it would be nice to have an all-in-one scanner, but I need the flatbed for scanning art occasionally, so I can't do an all-in-one printer scanner for that. And the color printing, I don't know. I mean, I'm like you say that you need it for schoolwork, but I assure you that I grew up doing schoolwork without any sort of printer at all or computer, and I was homeschooled. So, I mean, mom bought workbooks for us, but we definitely didn't need to do a lot of printing. I think you could probably get away with printing black and white and having the kids color them in. Um, I mean, don't know, but just as an idea. Uh, and I don't know where the scanner comes into schoolwork, but I'm sure you'll tell me that one. So, um, yeah, so didn't mean to go off onto printers, but really it goes with what I said in the beginning of setting up the live stream thing was whatever you want to talk about, because I have ideas about what I would like to talk about, but that doesn't necessarily align with what everybody else wants to talk about. And I enjoy the chat. And I also don't want to just be um I don't know, talking about just me all the time. That's awkward too. Um yeah, no, the scanning things from time to time does come into play, but yeah. Yeah, the Pixma that you haven't used, Dad, you may want to run some pages through it, printing random whatever, because I had trouble with mine when I hadn't used it for, I don't know, 5 to 6 months. I had to go in and do some serious deep cleaning on the print heads, because the ink will dry and clog the print heads. So you have to be really careful about the inkjet printers, especially the color ones. No, if you're using it often enough, it shouldn't be a big deal. So, I'm looking at my notes on what I wanted to do for topics today. Ooh, a haboob does not sound good, Differs. Still sounds like you should get the kids in out of the pool. Uh, Dust in a pool doesn't sound good either. Do you have a pool cover? Ah, that's a good idea, RK. I wish I had done a lot more scanning of the family portrait pictures before they got lost. I had the ability back then, although I have also lost a lot of my family pictures, the digitals, um, since I have got a big gap in. There was a computer that died, and oh, so you don't have to worry about covering dog pools. They can be refilled if need be. Yeah, genealogy stuff scanned and being able to share it is great. My grandmother has been doing a lot of that, and it's kind of fun to see all the photos that she has of the family. And I don't know where else she's gotten them from, but they're awesome, because she'll put up batches of them. And for a long time on Facebook, it was really cool because every time it was somebody's birthday, she'd post 10 or 15 photos of them, anywhere from baby pictures on up through more recent pictures. And it was really cool to see things like pictures of my mom from baby through little kid through teenager through holding me as a baby. And I mean, one of the my favorite photos of my grandmother is her holding me when I was a baby. And that was 45 years ago now. So it's kind of awesome that she has these photos and she scanned them and put them up so um, everybody can see them. And that's the other thing too, is that a lot of family photos get fuzzy as far as who is this as time goes by. So it's really, that's a priceless thing that you're able to have your mom tell you who everybody is in the photo. um, and being able to label that and have it all online and tagged so that the family can find it and easily look at themselves, their ancestors, connections. It is a really cool thing to be able to do that. I know I never got involved in it, but I know that there's a whole community online that takes old photos and does restorations or colorizes them, and it's kind of cool. Yeah, Mom, I'm not sure how active she is on other sites. I mean, if she were willing to do Flickr, I'd be willing to buy a pro membership for her every year in order for her to be able to do that. Um, I mean, I have thought a few times about grabbing and downloading a ton of the photos that she's put it up on Facebook. So, yeah, and that's the thing is if you lose someone, and I mean, sometimes we have warning before we lose people and sometimes we do not. And so when you lose someone, you also lose all that memory. And I know it's like right now with my grandmother, I really would like to be able to help her um, and get more of her stories and the stories that she's putting online um, for my great grandparents, her parents, and others. And she's been actually creating books and getting ready to publish them. And she runs into computer issues, and I can't. It's really difficult to support from here. So, um, oh, that's good as well, RK. Yeah, I know there's a lot of people I wish I could get stories from. Like my Alaskan cousins with this hunting anthology, I would love to have gotten some stories from them, but they aren't writers, and I can't afford to just hop on a plane and run up there with my little mini recorder and get them sitting down and telling stories and then write them down for them. As much as I would love to be able to do that, it's just not something I can run off and do. Um, it is what it is. I mean, we'll get what we can get, and I last week, Johan and I went for a tiny hike. And I say a tiny hike because it was too daggone hot. I mean, we did this Friday after I was done with work. We headed over to Lake Arrowhead, which is about a half an hour drive from where we live. And there's a camping area. It's a state park, so there's trails and a camping area and stuff. And I knew it was going to be too hot pretty quickly, so we got there, and I told him where we were going to go because we took a look at the map that the ranger gave us. And he's like, "That's a baby trail. Can't we do the bigger trail?" And I'm like, "Let's do the half a mile hike and see how we feel." And when we were done with the half a mile hike, he was ready to agree that I was right. But on the way back from the hike, he decided that he wanted to go to the antique mall that Jana had told us about. And one of the cool things about that, about doing any kind of an antique mall like that, is you're looking at history, really. And so I know that he doesn't know as much as I do, so I try to tell him things, what this is, what it does, when we're actually looking at objects. But the other thing that's really cool is that um, some of the booths there are just packed full of old books. And one of the booths was like shelves and shelves and shelves of history of Texas, and some really interesting history of Texas books, just like regular people telling their stories, not big pieces of history. And those are the ones that I would like to start collecting to use for research, because that's the kind of stories that I enjoy writing. Less the big stories of major historical moments, and more the stories of the lady that her husband died and she has to keep managing the ranch to keep um, kids going and body and soul together. That kind of thing. Those are really interesting stories for me. And these are the kinds of things that you find when you find books that were written by either by the person themselves or by their descendants. And so my plan is that, well, maybe this Friday, but probably more likely Saturday morning, I'll go back and I'll budget myself a little money and go back to the antique mall. And Stephen, Central Kentucky would have been very close to Mom, actually. Dad, I have no idea. That would be highly specific, and if I ever stumble across something like that, I'll let you know. But not only would it be highly specific, it's very unlikely that I'm going to find something like that in Texas. And I'm looking specifically at Texas history resources. Since I live down here, it would be really interesting to learn more about the history here now. And also finding history books of New England, not so easy. Oh, speaking of the Twitch though, Dad, there's a really good book I think I picked up because I was thinking about you and the French and Indian War. And it's called First Frontier, and can't remember the name of the fellow that wrote it. It starts with a W and it's long and complicated, and Weidensaul, I think. But yeah, Dad, you would really enjoy that book, and I highly recommend that if you can get a copy of it, that you do so. It might have been popular enough that you can get it at your local library or maybe through interlibrary loan. And yes, the little house books were like that, and that actually is probably why I'm so attracted to the idea of writing something like that, because I loved the little house books growing up. We read those aloud along with Little Women and The Five Little Peppers. Um, oh, I know. I love old flea markets. New England was where I learned how to antique. My paternal grandmother taught me how um, to look for things, but I don't think she was ever quite. I don't think she ever understood my obsession with old books. The really cool thing is, and I kind of regret now, well, sort of regret, sort of don't regret because I lost so many of my books on that last move out of New Hampshire that I probably wouldn't have been able to keep them. But there were several times that for I could have picked up for, I mean, just a few dollars each, old family Bibles. And talk about a genealogy resource. I mean, some of those old Bibles had pages and pages and pages in the front. I mean, you're talking about a Bible that's that thick, first of all, but then you got a section like that that's the family genealogy in the beginning of the Bible. And it was, I mean, I would stand there in junk shops looking at those things and thinking, I have absolutely no use for these, but wow, these would be amazing to take home and go through at my leisure. And I never did because I think time I'm thinking of in specific, there were four or five of them, and I was in my late teens, about to go off to college, no idea what life was going to throw at me. So, yeah, I one of the nice things about being settled here and having lots and lots of bookshelves, and then you're looking at just one in my office right now, but I have space. I have room for more books than I actually have. Well, I will have once I finish building the bookshelves in the front room area, which I have actually had a chance to chat with a carpenter about that. That was fun. Um, but yeah, that's probably going to be held off a couple weeks because oh, it was an exciting week. We had moments this week. So, we had talked to friends about splitting a cow in several different directions. One set of people are taking a half a cow, and then there's three households that are splitting the other half of a cow. So I'm going to get a sixth of a cow, which roughly based on the hanging weight we've already been provided for said beef, I'm going to be looking at about 120 pounds of beef. So I went ahead. I was not given a timeline, by the way. I was just told, "Hey, you want to do this?" Yes, I do. I didn't realize how quickly this was going to happen. So sometime in the next week we'll be having beef. This last week I managed to arrange for and buy um, a nice sized upright freezer. We picked up a 21 cubic foot upright to supplement our small chest freezer. So now I have to empty the chest freezer into the big freezer, and then the chest freezer will be just beef. Mom, I think. Yikes! That does sound like there's a story there, Don. Mom, I think the rough calculation. Right, farm girl, we know, and that was actually kind of calculated into, I don't know what we're going to wind up with at the end. We were doing back of the envelope calculations as far as who all gets what. So, but roughly speaking, we're looking at $3.50 a pound, $4 a pound, somewhere in there. We will see. I have no idea what to expect. This is the first time I've ever done this kind of thing, and I'm looking forward to it on one hand, but I also expect it to be a learning experience. For one thing, almost certainly a full quarter of a cow would have been better for us because with a teenage boy, we'll go through the meat. Um, and Yeah, no, we had a chest freezer even when we lived in the apartment, but we weren't using it because apartment. So as soon as we moved into the house, um, we we had the chest freezer up and running, which was like, yay. But I knew all along we were gonna get at least another freezer, and I wanted an upright because um so, as far as the bone goes, I have already said that I'm willing to take joint cuts, cuts with bone in, because I can and will, um, I can and will use and cook with a little bit more different cuts. Um, oh no, differs. Is it blowing that hard? So I would love to be able to get a hold of some bison, but it's probably a little rich for my blood. Well, Dawn, since at least two of us with the are talking to the processor about this have dogs, the lungs have already been spoken for by the other person to be able um to feed to their dogs. So, and we've spoken for a good bit of the other organ meat, either for the dog or because I'll eat anything. I grew up, we ate everything except for, well, usually you'd say everything except for the squeal, except when you're talking about goats or caribou or whatever. Um, yes, I know we need to do some dates. Ooh, that would be lovely. Oh gosh, that would be fantastic. That many hearts. I mean, I'll take heart, I'll take tongue. Um, one of the other people in the group and myself, we're gonna split the liver because we both like it. Uh, Nobody else likes it, but the two of us do. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The reason that I wanted the upright freezer is the chest freezers are more efficient as far as keeping things cold, but they're a lot more difficult to keep organized. And with the way things are here, um, the boy likes to eat a lot of frozen foods, convenience foods, and I'm willing to cater to that to some extent because he's working right now, and for him to be able to come in and grab and go with a meal and me not have to deal with it while I'm working, um, I'm fine with him doing that sort of thing. Hey Ray, I'm glad to see that Delaware represents today. So beef tongue is very nice. So yeah, no, uh, I grew up eating everything, so I have no issue um with the organs. I did tell the gang that if I wind up with the tripe, then I will make menudo. I haven't made menudo before, but I'm sure I can figure it out. Um, so liver, if you prepare liver right, you're less likely to get that chalky texture that you'll get sometimes. Um, and ooh, I hadn't thought about pho. I have made pho, so that would probably be really interesting. Not sure, not sure whether pho for the whole gang is going to be feasible. I got to think that one through. Uh, I know we talked about hot pots and decided that that was a one or two other people besides the family if we're going to do hot pots. Um, so menudo, not menudo. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. I mean, See, you're disappointing me. I was looking forward to getting to experiment with some funky meat. Right, that's exactly what we're planning on doing, Aaron, is putting the meats in the chest freezer. Now, I mean, I picked up 40 pounds of meat just at the grocery store this last week. I got a boneless pork loin. Yes, you're right, that would be menudo. I got a boneless pork loin, about 10 pounds of that. I got 10 pounds of chicken legs and quarters at 54 cents a pound. Um, where was I? Trying to remember what else I got. I actually did pick up 10 pounds of ground beef because it was inexpensive. And, oh, I know what the other one was. It was a 10-pound pork shoulder. So it was just one big thing. And, that got portioned up and mostly frozen. But average price for it was probably $2 a pound, throwing in the ground beef in there because that was the ground beef was a little bit more expensive, but everything else was under $2 a pound, and the chicken was damn cheap. Um, so yeah, okay, that makes sense. It probably is quite a bit of processing on that. So yeah, no, bones, if I can get hold of bones, I want them for pho. I want the marrow bones. Roasted marrow bones are just wonderful. Um, so yeah, no, I will take whatever I can get because I will use it. Um, and the dog likes to chew on bones after they've been boiled for a long time for stock or whatever. So, yeah, I don't think I want to do that many freezers. Sanford jokes about wanting a walk-in freezer, and I'm like, I don't want the electric bill from that. I mean, I was pleased with this because we bought this one used. I would not have been able to swing this one new in a hurry without having a chance to really budget and save up for it. Um, but we bought it from a fellow who is a local businessman, and his business is that he refurbishes and sells appliances. And so that was actually cool because not only did I get this for a very reasonable price, and he delivered it to us for a very reasonable fee with a 15-day warranty on it, but he also he also told me that he would keep an eye out for racks for my dishwasher because I like my dishwasher. It works fine, but it's probably 40 years old and they don't make the racks anymore, and my racks are going rusty. So he's going to keep an eye out on that. He had me text him photos and dimensions. So if I can get new dishwasher racks, I'll be a happy lady. The other thing that was funny is when he came into the kitchen to take a look at the dishwasher, he looked over at the fridge, and we bought this used for a song because when the kid was living up here, he really needed a fridge. And he goes, "Oh, those are good fridges. They run forever." And I'm like, "Well, unfortunately, the ice maker doesn't work anymore. Wires were damaged." And he's like, "That's easy to fix." And I'm like, "I will be calling him to fix the ice maker because that would be nice right now." So, yeah, the upright freezer is used, but it's not an old one. It's not vintage. It's an Energy Star efficient, so that makes me happy there. The fridge is definitely vintage, which is over 25 years old, and the dishwasher is probably 40 years old because I think it's been about 40 years since they last updated this house, sometime in the 1980s, based on what we were looking at for the cabinets and whatnot. Now, the oven, on the other hand, the stove, I want to get rid of that. It, the oven is small, and I'm not a fan of the electric range. But I think I've grumbled about that one before on the thing. The funny thing is, I'm talking about all of this, and the little mind filler background noise that I've been using this week while working has been a YouTube channel, and I think they do a bunch of other things, but the thing that I was binging for the last couple of days were these guys talking about kitchen gadgets. and they were testing them out and giving their opinion of them. And they're very, very funny. I'm trying to think name of the name of the group. I think the it's called Sorted Food, and it's 5 or 6 guys, and it's family friendly. But I will warn you that they do get into innuendo sometimes, not always on purpose, which I find hilarious. But um, the yeah, dry storage is probably not a bad idea for this fridge if we wind up replacing it and it stops working. Currently, the plan is to buy a new fridge and move the old fridge out to the garage to become a beverage fridge, something to put sodas and drinks in our area. Right. That is actually something that we've talked about with the racks is sandblast and powder coat. Unfortunately, it has already lost some of the upright props. So that would save it from further deterioration, but if I can replace them with some that are like new, then I will do so. Um, I almost did that the other day. There was a guy on Facebook Marketplace that had a KitchenAid dishwasher that he had taken out and he was selling, and the racks in it were in really good shape. But he was being weird in messaging, so I nixed that and moved on. We'll find somebody else. Um, it's Facebook Marketplace is one of those that I really have to listen to my gut when I'm talking to people, because sometimes you meet really nice folks and they're very helpful and you can get really good things, but other times there's people that are just weird. And yeah, so I try to listen to my gut and um, not get myself into a situation. And I mean, a lot of the times I'll take one of the men folk with me when I'm running out to do these. Not always. Sometimes I'll do them by myself, which I have friends that think I'm crazy, but again, with I listen to my gut, my gut. There are times right now when I really wish I did have chickens, eggs. Egg production would be nice, but then again, on the other hand, with as dry as it's been, trying to keep chickens alive would be, and dry and hot, trying to keep the chickens alive would be, I don't know. I'm barely managing to keep my garden alive right now. Today it was supposed to rain all day. It did not. So I don't remember when the last time we had rain. Everything is wilting. Trees, bushes, everything. Um, uh, yeah. So Um, oh gosh, they're not that high out here. They'd gotten up pretty high here and then they dipped back down again. I think they're right around $2 a dozen currently, which is not as bad as they were. So, right. Problem with us differs is that we have a very small yard. So, it's we wouldn't have to buy all of their feed because they'd get all the kitchen scraps, but still, it doesn't have a lot of sense to have them here. And seeper hosers are planned for the garden, but right now my garden is all in containers. When I build the garden this fall, I will probably put in drip irrigation. Um, yeah, I wish I could do venison, but I'm finding that it's not going to be easy to hunt here in Texas. And the long term goal, very long term, um, is to probably buy some land to use for hunting over. And that's going to be so. Not only did I have to buy a freezer this week, but my dear, dear child, he's been getting ready to sign up for this welding certificate. So the he was talking, I think talking on the phone, maybe video chat, I'm not sure, I wasn't involved in that part, with the advisor from a college, and he had expressed to her that welding was not his first choice of program. So she immediately threw a flag on the play, which was good of her. I don't actually have a problem with this. But um she wanted him to come in to the college and meet with the gentleman that runs the welding program before she would allow him to register for classes for the welding program. Um, and So that happened this last week. And the child must have made a good impression on the program director because he promptly signed up the child for Johann had originally planned for 2 classes this semester. Well, he's now signed up for 4, courtesy of the guy that runs the program. Um, and So I'm looking at 11 credit hours worth of tuition going, ah. And then we logged in and we took a look at the bill and got a very nice surprise, which is that here in Texas they do dual credit. And so because he's still a high school student, he's going to be able to take the college credits, but they are giving it to him at half price. So he is going to be on campus in welding classes, and he is very aware. We've had this conversation. He's responsible for buying his all of his own equipment, and if he fails a class, he pays me back. And we have a savings account with both of our names in it that I'm using as essentially an escrow account to hold him responsible for that. Um, so we will see how college goes this time because the last time we tried college, it didn't go that well. He's doing really good about being working hard and putting money aside in the bank this time rather than spending it all as fast as it comes in. So I am hopeful that we are starting to see some maturation and responsibility. And honestly, I don't know what else to do other than keep giving him rope because he needs to grow up. And yep, exactly. It's going to be an adventure. And he is going to, um, I think he will actually do fairly well because he likes working with his hands. That being said, 2 of the classes this semester are one of them is metallurgy, which is an online class, and the other one is how to read blueprints, which is not an online class. So both of those I think are excellent skills and knowledge for him to pick up, but we'll see how he does with them. He's had college algebra, so he should be okay as far as maths involved. Um, and we will see. The so there's 2 different certificates nested. So he can do a basic welding certificate, which is 26 credit hours. So it'd be this semester, and then one more semester would get him that. Or there is the Associates of Science, AAS, for which would be 46 hours. And he could potentially do that in 3 semesters, I believe they told him. 3 semesters, and I think a little summer class going on in there. So, right, I know that, I know that it probably would be good for him to have failed and then try again. And I certainly did that when I went to college the first time. I didn't manage it. And not necessarily that I failed out, but I wasn't focused on it the way I was when I went back 20 years later. um, See, I don't understand people that don't like game meat, but then again, I grew up with it, so I remember. I think we bartered beef for moose one time in Alaska and got a nice chunk of moose meat that way because somebody didn't like the game meats. Ah, yes. And the last expense of the week, the smallest one. Um, Spent some time talking with Sanford before I went out and did this, but I have gained a disconcerting amount of weight since we moved down here to Texas. stress, disruption of routine, the sheer non-existence of any kind of diet. So now that I'm working from home, the last couple of months I've been working from home and sitting basically. I mean, I sit for this, I sit to write, I um I sit all the time. I sit 9 hours a day, 4 days a week for work, and then another 4 hours for Friday. Um, it's a lot of sitting, and with the heat, the other day we went out. Well, actually, it was the day we went to pick up the treadmill. My lungs were not happy, and I don't know if it was the heat or the fact that we had wildfires and the sky was obviously smoky or a combination thereof, but I can't walk outside right now for any length of time or in any cardiac actually like pushing my heart rate up because my lungs don't want do not want pack it in. And because our garage is uninsulated, unfinished, and not capable of being cooled, which is fine. We don't need it to be, but it does mean that I can't toss a exercise bicycle or a treadmill out in the garage the way we did in Ohio. So I decided that I wanted to do a walking desk. My friend Dorothy Grant has a walking desk, and she showed it to me, oh gosh, a couple years ago, and I liked the idea then, never really needed it, but now I'm to the point where I needed something. Um, so I decided what I wanted to do was go ahead and acquire an inexpensive used treadmill to start. And the idea initially was that I was going to butcher the treadmill and um, put it underneath the desk. The treadmill we got that won't work, which is fine because the treadmill actually has a tray, a nice grooved tray, and my work laptop will sit into that, and then with the screen of the laptop pushes to almost flat. So, and it's a touch screen laptop, so I can actually work while I'm walking on the treadmill without even having to worry about doing a walking desk out of it. I had been looking at, they make walking pads. So they're treadmills that are designed to go underneath a desk, and they have a little remote control to control them. Um, and I was looking at those. Those only run like $300 on Amazon, but with the other bills this week, or this pay period rather, that wasn't happening. So the inexpensive yard sale priced treadmill was about my speed, and it gives me the ability to hop up on it. It's right here in the office. It's actually a folding one and it's fairly lightweight. It's got wheels. So if I want to move it out of the way, I can easily do that. But it gets me up and moving. This first week, I'm only shooting for like 30 minutes a day, a little over a mile doing that. And then I'll start cranking that up further and further. With my job, a lot of what I'm doing is reading or reviewing documentation. I can do that while I'm walking. When it comes time for me to need to actually sit down and type something, I can plop back down at the desk, plug the laptop in so it charges, and do that. So this actually is working out really well. But I mean, it's one of those things of I have changed my routine so much. I'm having to figure out what works, figure out what doesn't work, and then solve those problems. Um, yeah, I was looking at the under the desk pedal machines, and they're not cheap. So, right, AC is expensive, and so are the dogs, but not as expensive as the AC, I wouldn't think. Mom, yes, I have used Dragon while I was on the treadmill in Ohio. Um, and that actually works somewhat well. I still have issues with dirty transcriptions and having to edit it again. But the uh, the best thing for me right now is the fact that I can do this while I'm working. So my idea is to be up to where I'm walking on the walking desk a couple of hours every day and doing several miles every day. And I'm not walking fast. I mean, we're talking 1.7 to 2 miles per hour is about a nice slow walking pace that I don't have to think about while I'm working. And I can just kind of be doing that at the same time. The other thing about this treadmill, which is part of the reason I can't butcher it into being a walking pad, is that it has a slight built-in incline. So that is actually more comfortable for a long walking than walking on a flat level. At least that's how I feel about it. Pedal-powered computer would probably be fun. Would kind of be like working with a treadle sewing machine. That will build up your leg muscles. Uh, oh, yeah, taking care of the dogs. The dogs are your babies, so it's good to take care of them. Um, I'm trying to think, what was it? During World War II, they used bicycle-powered generators to run things like radios on remote islands. What the island watching for the Japanese flights going over ships, so that they could gather intelligence and send it back to the bigger ships that could actually do something about it. Um, but that's what popped into my head when we were talking about pedal powered computers. Eh, it's um yes, coast watchers. Thank you. I knew there was a better word for that. Sometimes when I'm just like running my mouth, the brain doesn't fully engage. None of you, I'm sure, have ever. So I don't have a treadle anymore. I used to have one. And I thought about getting another one, but I don't really have a good place to put it. I mean, even currently, the one that I do have, which is a 1951 Singer sewing machine, Ray named for me, so it's named Gojira. Um, the That's still sitting in the garage because I've got to figure out where to put it in the house, and it needs rewired. The wiring on that one's wonky. Uh, so yeah, treadle is good exercise. I mean, yes. Yeah, so yeah, the I was thinking the other day there was something I wanted to actually sew, but I currently have no fabric because that was one of the things that I divested myself of completely. Oh, which reminds me, putting the word out, I have some nice yarn. I have both some nice soft, I think it's alpaca, it might be llama based yarn, and the other thing that I have is nice wool, but it's scratchy wool, so it's probably rug wool. But anyhow, I have a few pounds of yarn, and if anyone is a fiber artist and would like it, get in touch with me because I will happily ship it off to you. I have decided that I am not going to be working with fiber again. It's it's not something I can do while I work because both hands occupied. So unless I'm doing pure dictation, it doesn't work for me, and I find that typing works better for me than pure dictation. So, um, yeah, these are definitely not modern yarns. These are the wool in particular is almost probably vintage. Doesn't seem to have any moth damage. I'll check it over before I send it out to anyone because I did lose a skein of wool, actually modern wool, to moth. But this stuff, it's coarse. But I also have some really nice fine sport weight in I think it's alpaca. It's in a cupboard right now, so I can't grab it. But if anybody knows that, uh, Dawn, that's just bizarre. I don't even know what I would answer to that. I never did learn how to knit, Becky. Mom taught me how to crochet, and I can do uh, up to probably medium level kind of crocheting stuff, but it doesn't give me joy. So I'm going to pass on the fiber, the yarn, to somebody that can actually use it to make something nice. And it's nice stuff, so I don't want to just chuck it. Um, and yeah, quilting I would actually get back into doing. I stopped because small children and quilting don't mix. Same reason I stopped beading. I used to work with bead looms, and I've given away my bead looms and beads. Um, so yeah, over the years I've done a lot of different things, and I'm at the point now where um I'm looking at stepping back from as many different things as I've been doing. I mean, I have a commission right now to do some chain mail. So, um, yeah, quilting in summer would be uncomfortable. And we have mucho AC. My office and the bedroom in our bedroom, our AC is off kilter. I really have to get somebody in. I'm just kind of putting it off until fall when I know right now trying to get the AC guy in is gonna be an arm and a leg. So I'm gonna wait a little while, see if we can't even out how the house cools. Um, and focus. Yes, that's a good word. I'm trying to focus. I'm trying to focus on doing the illustrations. I am enjoying the heck out of doing illustrations for the hunting anthologies. And I don't remember if I talked about this last time, but there are two hunting anthologies at this point. I'm not even gonna, that distraction emu. Yeah, that just charged across there. Sadly, the quilting rack my mom had given me is long gone. But I had thought about buying a one of the quilt tops from Jonna because she's had some really lovely ones that her mother did, and getting a quilting hoop and making up a quilt that way. But the yeah, focus, exactly, the focus. I need to not. I need to not do that. No quilting, no beading, no fiber arts. I'm gonna stick with the art and writing and the occasional dabble in chainmail because dragons. Um, People are messy and difficult, but you know what? They're rewarding. They really are. I mean, I'm not gonna say that Sanford and I are perfect together, but it's been really, really nice to have a partner in life, especially given that my first marriage was not. Um, so yeah, I mean, dating is weird and uncomfortable. I'm with you on that. I mean, Sanford and I never really dated per se. I mean, yes, we did because he took me to Jungle Gyms for our first date, but we had known each other for so long. By the time we got together, that we were a lot less awkward than the whole trying to get to know you kind of thing. Um, so yes, yes. The hunting anthology, So I Can Buy a Land Hunt, not as much, but books, yes, certainly. The hunting anthology is definitely a please buy it, but that's more to support the authors involved in it. I'm actually a little bit of a debate here in my own head with the hunting anthology because it's royalty sharing, and technically I should probably take a share as a publisher and a share as an illustrator, but I'm thinking I may just take one of the shares so that I can make sure that more goes to the authors because yeah, I want my authors to get paid. That's the important part of this. And it would be great if the hunting anthologies took off. Have no idea what the market out there for those is like, because this is not a genre. This is a wild idea, and we're gonna have some fun and see what happens. It's not a genre I've dabbled in before. And if I can get myself writing the way I have been in the last few days, where I'm writing a bare minimum of 500 words a day, I'm shooting for 1,000 words a day. If I can keep that up and start putting out some books of my own, those will be money. And yeah, I would like to be able to buy some hunting land. I know it's going to be expensive. It used to be that I guess you could buy land really cheap in West Texas at one point, but I guess that's no longer the case, which doesn't surprise me. Um, so I've actually done, I mean, not Monster Hunter as in Larry Correa's MHI, not that's his thing, but I have done monster hunting sort of things in that kind of thematic, Lab Gremlin being one of them. And so yeah, uh, the house is optional because for hunting land, rough cabin with an incinerat is probably as fancy as we need to be. Um, and yeah, Stephen, that's definitely an idea. And Dad, I will, when we're a little closer to publication, that'll be September. So I'm actually shooting for August 30th as the launch date. Um, Never heard back on the other one. What differs? Did you send me a story? Because if you sent me a story and didn't hear back, everyone that sent me a story for the hunting anthology should have heard, at the very least, I've accepted this story or I haven't accepted this story. I'm still behind on sending out contracts, but I'm at least accepted everybody through email. And oh, yeah, it differs. I never heard back on that one either, so I don't know what's going on over there. I will um I will joggle someone's elbow differs on the library anthology. I'm pretty sure there's someone here local that I can be like, "Hey," because they should at least acknowledge so that you know what's going on because it'll make you happier. Um, and hopefully, fingers crossed, your hunt goes well and you can bring home some meat for the family. That would be fantastic. It's been so long since I've been hunting and brought home anything. I have no confidence in my own ability to anymore, but that's not going to stop me from going out there and trying. Well, folks, it has been an hour, and my voice is starting to remind me that I don't talk like this very often anymore. So I think I will sign off and I will be um, back in on Friday next week. I don't see a reason I shouldn't be on Friday normally. This was just an aberration. And I will see you all next week. Have a good one.